Welcome to Mishna study, Masechet Shabbat, Perek Kaf Gimal, Mishnah Gimal. Over here in this Mishnah, we're going to discuss really what you're allowed to prepare for on Shabbat and what you're not. So, are you allowed to hire workers, to work for you after Shabbat? On Shabbat, are you allowed to hire these workers to prepare for you to, them to work on Shabbat after Shabbat? So, lo yiskor adam po'alim b'Shabbat. The person is not allowed to hire workers on Shabbat. Lo yomar adam le'chavero yiskor lo po'alim. The person is not allowed to tell his friend, hire me workers for after Shabbat. He's not allowed to talk about these things on Shabbat. Nor are you allowed to wait, right, up until night, up until nightfall by the Tchum. Tchum Shabbat is the boundary, 2,000 amot. You're only allowed to walk from your place of residence on Shabbat. We'll learn about this in next Masechet. A person wants to go ahead and he's in the next town over. He wants to hire workers. So what does he want to do? He wants to walk all the way up to the boundary, right, of the Tchum, and he's going to wait there until Tzeta Kochavim and still stars out, and then he's gonna start going, right? He's getting ready, on Shabbat, preparing to to start his work, right? I think it's the equivalent of our day. A person who wants to catch a flight, right? And he's gonna walk as far as he can to to JFK, so right when he's there, he could start. Meaning that this is what they would do. They need to go hire workers. So he wants to go on Shabbat. He's going to walk all the way up to the border. He's preparing. Right? So you're not allowed to go ahead and do that to hire workers or even to bring fruits from your orchard outside of the tchum. But what are you allowed to do? Aval machshichu lishmor. You're allowed to go ahead and go all the way up to the border, right, the boundary on Shabbat, wait till right when Shabbat is over, because you want to watch over your fruits. Make sure no one steals them. On your way back, you can bring fruits with you, right? You can't go ahead to bring fruits, right? Because that's a melacha, bringing them from outside the tchum. But if you want to go ahead just to watch over, because you're allowed to go ahead and do that on Shabbat, we'll see. Let's see. Abba Shaul has a rule. Anything I'm allowed to speak about, I'm also allowed to go ahead and wait by the border up, until nightfall. So what am I allowed to speak about? What does this mean? The same way, let's say you were living in another, I live in one city, you live in another city. My field's in your city, your field is in my city, and we want to make sure that no one steals from our field. So I'm allowed to go ahead and tell you, I'm not going to be in your city on Shabbat. Just keep an eye on my field for me, please, and I'll keep an eye on your field that's in, my city over here for you. We're allowed to say that, right? There's no melacha being done. So the same way I'm allowed to go ahead and say that, so too, I'm allowed to be machshich, right? Wait, and until wait up by the border, up until nightfall, to go ahead and watch over fruits, because there's nothing wrong with watching over. But when it comes to bringing fruits from outside the tchum, that's a melacha, right? Okay, I can't carry on Shabbat. I can't cross the tchum, right? So that's the issue. Now, what we're not allowed to be osek, right? To deal with things, speaking about melachot, right? I'm not, speak about these melachot. Oh, I'm gonna go ahead and hire workers, after Shabbat, right? I'm not, speak about those things or do those things or prepare for those things on Shabbat, right? You can't say I'm gonna go ahead and we'll drive, we'll go out and drive to the city later. I can't speak about that on Shabbat when I want to make those plans on Shabbat. How do we know this? This is from the Navi Yeshayahu, right? And asod hafatzecha biyom kodshi. Another pasuk in Yeshayahu. This we learn it from, right? That you're not allowed to do your hefetz, your desires. You can't prepare, But when it's haftzeh shamayim, right? Let's say this is something you do chesed for. You're gonna do something good. You're gonna do a mitzvah. You're gonna do a chesed. That's haftzeh shamayim. Like similar, you want to set up a couple, right? Or you want to teach your children, wisdom, Torah, wisdom, or sefer, or job, right? Those things are things that are a mitzvah for a person, and therefore you're allowed to talk about them on Shabbat. But if it's just your own, right, your own haifetz, your own will, oh, I want to go ahead and prepare my work or hire employees, that we're not allowed to do because of the pisukim that we mentioned in our Mishnah.